Welcome to the Landmark Baseball Podcast. My name is Josh. Over there in California is Neil. We are on trade deadline watch, and some interesting things have already happened. As of an hour ago, Joey Gallo is in a Yankee. Some other big things like Adam Frazier going to the Padres, Escobar going to the Brewers. I mean, we got a ton of stuff to cover today. But first off, Neil, how you doing?
Great. Trade deadline, very exciting. Got me very excited. You can't tell, so get into it.
Yeah, you guys are actually in it. We are not.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun when your team is buying and not selling. That's for sure. And we will talk about the Padres
Yeah.
buying and some other teams buying. Mainly the Yankees, though.
Yeah, we're on sell watch right now. So, like, if Trey Mancini's not in the lineup over the next couple days, like, we're on big sad watch. But at least you guys don't have to worry about that.
That is true. We're hoping to
All
do
right, I will
some
cover some of the more minor transactions before we get into the bigger stuff. Jock Peterson traded to the Braves, kind of got things kicked off a couple of days ago. The Braves sent over Bryce Ball, first base prospect, to the Cubs. Then Billy McKinney got traded to the Dodgers. No one really cares about that. Nelson Cruz to the Rays was kind of a bigger move. Rays sent over Joe Ryan and Drew Strotman. I don't know anything about them. The Rays get Nelson Cruz and Calvin Fletcher from the Twins. I don't know who Calvin Fletcher is, but Cruz, his first two hits as a Ray were home runs, so whatever that means. Rich Hill is now a Met. The Rays get Tommy Hunter and Matt Dyer. Then the big one, Adam Frazier to the Padres from the Pirates. The Pirates get Tucupita Marcano, kind of a top 5 prospect, I believe.
in the Padres farm system. Yeah, he was our fifth ranked.
And then Jake Sawinski and Michael Miliano. I don't know anything about those guys. I don't know if you do either.
Sawinski had some upside, I heard. It's kind of someone was kind of upset that they lost him, but overall, not too bad of a trade, I think.
Yeah, we'll get into this one in a minute as well. I'll just cover the rest of the minor ones. Clay Holmes to the Yankees, reliever from the Pirates. Astros get Kendall Graveman from the Mariners in the series that they're playing them. Kind of caused some drama with the Mariners clubhouse. They said they were distraught. Graveman was like a huge team leader, and they just sent him across the field to the other dugout. And pretty high emotions in the Mariners.
If you didn't know already, Mariners are not a great run franchise. So
terribly run. They don't care about
come
their
as a
fans.
surprise to anybody.
Yeah, they don't care about their fans. They don't care about their players. No, whatever. That's a whole different conversation. We kind of did that in the offseason, I guess, with the Mainer stuff, whatever. The Reds get Luis Sessa and Justin Wilson from the Yankees. I do not get that trade at all because those were some of their more, at least Sessa was one of their more effective bullpen guys. Don't know why they did that, but, maybe this player to be named later will be interesting. The Reds get Michael Givens, used to be a Baltimore closer, kind of elite back in the day, but not really as much since then. The Rockies get Case Williams, who's a draft pick last year. The A's today get Starling Marte from the Marlins, who get Jesus Luzardo, who is kind of a bigger time prospect for the A's. Hard-throwing lefty, nasty curveball. And I think the Marlins actually will end up winning out on this trade because Marte is a rental. And Luzardo's got some big potential. We'll have to see. We'll have to check back in on that one in a couple of years. It'll be interesting. The Astros get Yimi Garcia for Brian De La Cruz from the Marlins. Brewers get Eduardo Escobar today, another one of the bigger ones that kind of got overshadowed because the Yankees get Joey Gallo from the Rangers. And a lot of the details are kind of not finalized on this, probably until Thursday is what Passan said. But Gallo to the Yankees. They desperately needed an outfielder, and they have the prospect capital to kind of make something like this happen. It is a rental, but don't be surprised if the Yankees go out and extend him this offseason. Or no, they have him for 2022. After that, it'll be interesting to see how they handle his contract. So where do you want to start, Neil? That was a lot of information through at you. A lot of contenders kind of made some moves already, and I guess
I wanted to start off with the one that kind of got lost in the weeds, which was Nelson Cruz to the Rays. I think that's a pretty big trade. The Padres actually inquired about him. I'm sure some other teams did. I heard about the Padres. They wanted to stick him at second base, but that was just not going to work out at all. So
what?
Yeah, they called the Twins. Apparently, there's a report that they called the Twins and asked them if he had been fielding ground balls at second base or at first, and no. So thank
Nelson
God
Cruz has probably not picked up a baseball glove in like 4 years.
no. So thank God they didn't make that decision. They went out and got Frazier, but I think for the Rays that's great as a DH. I mean, there's no one better. The dude is what, like 41, 42, still has an OPS over like 900 or something. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it. And he actually makes their lineup really scary. Him hitting third, it makes the Rays lineup, you know, I mean, I think this is like the best player, I believe, like the best hitter I feel like they've had in their lineup in a while now. I mean, I just no,
Yeah,
maybe.
they have someone to pitch around and like guys like
Okay, I'll start here. All right. Yeah, I think Nelson Cruz will just be a great addition, hitting number three. I really think the Rays, they've never had like a number 3 or 4, true number 3 or 4 hitter when you think about that guy in terms of power, who's just going to mash and, have a high OPS, which is exactly what Nelson Cruz is. And, they don't have to stick him or worry about who they're going to, lose as another bat because they never really had a true DH before. So they can still afford to put everyone in the lineup. And, I think that kind of went under the radar with everything else happening. But yeah, it's a great deal I think for the Rays. And then yeah, Gallo to the Yankees. You said they needed an outfielder. I think more than anything they needed a left-handed hitter. So congrats to the Yankees. Round of applause. You know how a left-handed hitter who has an OPS over 800 or .800. God knows when the last time that was, but it's been a while, that's for sure. So good for you guys. They'll probably hit third or fourth behind Judge, and it'll make their lineup a lot scarier. They can potentially do lefty, righty, lefty now that they have a couple of lefties with Gallo and Odor and Gardner if he ever makes it back to the lineup. So
yeah, with
yeah,
Gallo, I mean, he adds that depth to their outfield that they desperately needed because Brett Gardner's been a starting outfielder for them. Clint Frazier's been injured. Hicks is out for the year. Judge is kind of in and out of right field, but like they don't have outfield depth. They're starting guys I've never even heard of, like Ryan Lamar, and they had some other guy, Greg Allen, out there the other day. Like that's not a postseason lineup. That's not a team that's even trying to make the postseason. So they went out and made a move that was pretty necessary, and they're going to pay for it. But they didn't give up any of their top 10 prospects. I don't think. Somehow the Rangers fumbled that one. We'll see if it's a fumble in a few years, I guess. But yeah, Gallo, big power bat, left side, and Yankees could really use that in their lineup and on the field because Gallo is actually a pretty elite defender. He's got one of the best arms in baseball, one of the best gloves, and he's definitely a difference maker.
definitely usually leads and outs above average, stuff like that. And I think it's a great addition for the Yankees. I'm actually happy for them. He was linked to the Padres, also I heard a bunch about, but I didn't really want him, and I actually think he's a perfect fit for the Yankees because, like you said and like I said, they needed outfield and left-handed hitting, and it does work out. He does strike out a bunch, which they already had a bunch of in Judge and Stanton, and Torres likes to strike out, and same with Sanchez.
Torres has been bad this year.
So yeah, yeah. I know a lot of their guys in their lineup have not been hitting to their potential. LeMahieu also, but
So
Gallo. I
Gallo
mean,
in this season leads baseball in walks. He has 74 walks to his 125 strikeouts. That's a very high number, but makes up for it in the home runs. He has 25 of those. His OPS plus this year is 139. His OPS is 869. So like when he hits the ball, it goes very far. But I have to ask you though, does this get the Yankees to the postseason? Because I have to say no.
I I think he gets them a wild card.
Think he gets them in the wild card?
Yeah,
So we just talked about the Cruz trade. Cruz adds something to a Rays lineup that desperately needed him because they finally have protection for guys like Meadows and Arozarena and Choi when he's in the lineup. But the Rays are also going for the same wild card spot that the Yankees are going for. Oakland's in that same mix with them. It'll be interesting to see if they can hop over the Blue Jays for third, who have been quite inactive this trade deadline so far. But yeah, I might actually see how far.
yeah, that's
behind
tough.
they
Now
are
that I
with
think
other
about
teams.
it, because Red
Oh, the
Sox,
Yankees did hop the Blue Jays.
Red Sox and Rays, the Yankees have to do better than them. They also have to do better than the A's or the Astros. So actually, I don't think they can beat any of those teams, any of those four. And that's the only way they'd make it, right? They'd have to be record-wise be better than the Astros, the A's, the Red Sox, or the Rays.
Well, currently they are fourth in the wild card. Tampa Bay's first. They're 3.5 games up on Oakland, and then Seattle is holding on to third place. They are 2 games behind Oakland, and then the Yankees are 2.5 behind Oakland. So 2.5 games is nothing in the scope of a baseball season. I mean, that gets covered
Right.
in a week, final week of the season. You can make that
Right,
happen.
but I don't think they're going to be able to pass Oakland and Tampa Bay. Maybe
And
maybe
Oakland added
Seattle.
Starling Marte, and I don't know if that makes a huge difference for them, but Oakland has low key been pretty quietly solid this year, and they maybe don't have those bright names as always,
All right,
but
but Matt Olson, he's a phenomenal player, and
yeah, Chapman is in there too, and I mean, yeah, they just kind of get it done, and that's kind of Oakland A baseball. And so far this year, it's held up the same way. It'll be very tough to see, for me at least, the Yankees hopping over Oakland.
yeah, no, me
Just
too.
don't know if they get there. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I certainly don't think it's an uphill battle for sure. The way their pitching's been, I believe they get Kluber back in a couple weeks. I'm not too sure the timeline on that. I'm not in Yankees lane, but yeah, certainly makes things a lot more interesting at the very least.
Oh, definitely. I think it'll help their offense out a lot, as it
Yeah,
should.
we can get into. I know the one you're dying to talk about. We can get into the Adam Frazier trade. Initial thoughts. What does this do for you? Frazier has been on the
When I
Pirates at least known
first
as like a bat first.
when I first found out about it, I was shocked because I didn't think they gave up much. They gave up our fifth ranked prospect, but honestly, I didn't really like him in the time I saw Tuca Peter Marcano. His potential is great, but I don't know what it is. Padres, they just call these guys up and they turn out to be underwhelming and they get traded. This has been a reoccurring thing now. I've seen it I've seen it with Urias. I've seen it with Ty France. I saw it with there's just a bunch of other guys too pitching. That's probably going to happen with Chris Paddock now too. I
I'll have
mean,
no Luis Urias slander on this podcast.
yeah,
He's having a
and
solid season.
his brother too, right? Ramon.
Ramon, he had a 2-hit night tonight, two
There you
doubles.
go. There you go. But yeah, I thought they would have to give up more. But yeah, no, I was really happy when I heard about Adam Frazier because it gives him a lot of versatility because he can play second and he can play outfield, which is perfect because Cronenworth, who normally plays second, can slide over to first and take over for Hosmer. And then you can sit Frazier at second. And then literally your whole infield is someone who was in the All Star game, which is pretty cool. And then your outfield will still be Grisham, Pham, and Myers. Or if it's, a right-handed hitter, you want to have Hosmer in the lineup and Frazier. You can take out, Myers out of the outfield, put Frazier in, and still have everyone you need. So I think it gives them a lot of versatility for the lineups. I think it works out great, and I'm really happy with the deal, honestly. Frazier, I think, is exactly what they needed. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of strikeouts. They have a lot of guys who can walk and just flat out get on base. And Todd Frazier, or not Todd Frazier, Todd Frazier's nowhere near as good as Adam Frazier.
He's in
Um,
Tokyo right now.
yeah, Adam Frazier, he does none of those things I just said earlier. He doesn't walk too much. He doesn't hit a bunch of home runs. He's not going to hit a bunch of extra base hits like Cronenworth or Myers or Pham or all those other guys. But he is going to just hit a bunch of singles, which is really nice. And I think that's what they needed, honestly. Someone just a true leadoff guy. People say guys like that are kind of useless now because it's the old style play. But he is kind of like a lesser Tony one if you think about it. Just a bunch of hits, left-handed hitter. He can play in the outfield. He's not too fast. He's just slightly above league average, I want to say.
He's
But
got 5 stolen bases this year, so yeah, about average.
yeah, and then I think I saw his on Baseball Savant, his sprint speed was slightly above the league average. So it's not too great, but yeah, just a solid leadoff hitter. I think it makes their lineup a lot better, and I'm very happy with what they gave up and what they got back.
I mean, he leads Major League Baseball in hits right now. He has 127 hits. Like you said, not a lot of strikeouts, not a lot of walks. Think of him as like a less power hitting, less power capable, I guess, version of Cronenworth, which, Padres love him, plays anywhere on the field, lots of singles, doesn't swing and miss a lot. Frazier, I mean, the Pirates have to be elated at what they got from him, actually, because before 2021, Frazier was kind of known as like a quirky, little like occasional power and no strikeout kind of guy, but certainly not worth a couple prospects out of the system. Maybe a couple AAA guys is what they thought they could get for him a couple years ago. So I mean, this is pretty mutually beneficial, and for me at least, the this doesn't really do a lot for the Padres. Like, that's already a solid lineup. I don't think the lineup's the issue at this point. It just adds another key option to the team. Like, he's better than Kim, he's better than Profar, and it certainly adds to their depth and everything. They won't use him in a bench role by any means. Just interesting to see how they'll fit him in the lineup, and I know they'll find a way, but we'll see how that kind of comes up in the postseason. Maybe you're looking at an NLCS run, and Frazier comes up and has a big hit, and that's why you get these guys at this deadline. They have them through next year. So
I think the best part is they don't have to play Hosmer. Like I said, if you don't want to, you can have Cronenworth first base, Frazier second base, and then Tatis Machado. And that's the best part because Hosmer was kind of, he was getting hot as of lately, but in the lineup, he was not looking too great. And I think that's the best part. It makes the lineup a lot scarier while, not, giving up too much. And you can still, Hosmer off the bench is even better. The solid lefty off the bench, come in, platoon guy. So, yeah, you're right though. They still need some pitching if they really want to move the needle because that's what's struggling right now is their starting pitching. And
I mean,
I
Paddock's been bad. Snell has
Yeah.
not been himself.
No,
Darvish
no.
hasn't even been sharp this year.
Darvish and Musgrove after the sticky stuff, their ERAs have gone down. They're still low threes, which is pretty good. But yeah, ideally they need someone else. Yeah, I think honestly, if they want any shot at winning the World Series, which is is what they seem to want to do this year, right? I mean,
That's the
obviously,
goal, yeah.
it's the goal, but the way they're going about it, it seems like they really want to. I think they need to go get Scherzer, but because I don't know how else it's possible unless you have Scherzer, Darvish, Musgrove. I mean, even that, I don't
Scherzer,
think
man.
that's enough
Scherzer's
with
such
the
an
Dodgers
interesting
are throwing out
case.
there.
Scherzer's such an interesting case because he's owed like $100 million through 2028. Like, he is a rental for this year, but I don't think the Nationals are able to find a suitor for him because of how much money that kind of gets attached to him. Because $100 million for 3 months of baseball, and obviously the Nats would have to eat a lot of that money, but I just don't know if a lot of teams are going to want to be interested in something like that. 37-year-old, when he looks for an extension, he's going to be looking for a contender, obviously. So that takes a lot of those teams out of it, especially if like this year's your window.
I've heard he prefers to go to the West Coast though, and that's good because Giants, Dodgers, Padres, all contenders. Same with the Athletics. Maybe he doesn't want to get traded there, but they could be considered too. And then I have heard the Padres are willing to go over the luxury tax, and maybe they would pay him to a 2 or 3 year extension if he agreed to come here. But
it'd have to be an insane return. Maybe the Nationals eat 70 mil of that out of that 100 mil, and the other team would have to give up a pretty decent amount of prospect capital. I just don't think a deal like this gets done in the span of time that we have it. 2 days. They have 2 days to make a deal.
We'll see. Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see for sure. Scherzer's, he's been great this season as always, but yeah, just that money attached to him that's tough. That's not something a lot of teams can make happen. Teams like the Yankees are out on him. I don't think the Red Sox are interested in anything like that. But yeah, we shall see. I don't think the Giants make a move like that. It's not really their MO. Anything else on Gallo or Frazier?
Not really.
Not really. Okay. We can talk about the Eduardo Escobar trade. Brewers get him. Let me still.
Brewers are very scary.
Brewers are terrifying now.
Brewers are very terrifying. Yeah, either throwing out. I'm just thinking about them in a playoff series. They're gonna throw out game 1 Woodruff and then Burns, or maybe flip flop 1 and 2, and then they're gonna go out, throw 7 scoreless innings, and then they're gonna hand the ball over to Devin Williams and Josh Hader. I mean, that's just a recipe for W's in the playoffs, if you ask me. And then now they get Eduardo Escobar, who's leading the Diamondbacks in pretty much all offensive categories. Given it is the Diamondbacks, but still, very solid player. He can play a lot of positions, I believe, especially on the infield. So that'll be nice. And yeah, Brewers are very scary. Like I said, I'm a Padres fan. I don't want to see them in the playoffs right now. And there's only 2 teams I feel that way about, Dodgers and Brewers. I don't want to see either of them, but probably have to, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, they are a very tough team now, and if they add another starting pitcher, they could be, they could be going for it all. Very serious contention are already. So
The thing with the Brewers is they remind me a lot of like last year's Rays, where like they don't have like this big bat in the lineup, but you don't want to face the pitching staff. I think the Brewers are an even more exaggerated version of that, but maybe like you can
well, they have
rely on Christian
Yelich.
Yelich a little bit more.
Yeah, I was gonna
Like
say
the pitching staff is better than what the Rays had. They had 3 All-Stars in their rotation this year. Willie Peralta's the third one on top of Burns and Woodruff, like you mentioned, and you said Hader and Williams in the pen. I mean, this team is built for playoff baseball. They will manufacture runs with their lineup and just rely on the starting pitchers to hold teams to 1 or 2 runs over 7 innings. That's average for those first couple of guys. But yeah, adding a guy like Escobar, who's a switch hitter, he's been around the league a little bit. He's having a decent season this year. Not an incredible season, but 22 homers, 65 RBIs. His OPS is hanging around 800. Diamondbacks had no use for him. Might as well get something for him. They got 2 prospects. But yeah, Escobar adds certainly a solid rock in the lineup to pitch around. You don't want to leave him anything over the middle of the plate. He'll crush it. And this is a guy that had 118 RBIs in 2019 there. So yeah, definitely a feared hitter in their lineup that they just added on top of guys like Yelich and Garcia, and when Vogelbach comes back, and I believe Shaw's had a great year for them. So yeah, I think the Brewers are this moved the needle for me a little bit on the Brewers. I don't think they're anywhere near not anywhere near, but they're like not at Dodger level or probably not even Padre level. But they are built for the playoffs, and it'll be fun to watch them this year. I will be rooting for the Brewers in the NL. Sorry, Neil.
right, their pitching is what scares me the most. Just because if you have one guy who can go out and hold the team to 1 or 2 runs, like you said, over 7 innings, that makes all the difference in the playoffs. And then if you have a guy like this who can score you 1 or 2 runs, then there you go, you got the win already. So yeah, we'll see about the Brewers. We'll monitor them. Probably won't be picking up too much. They are probably content with making one move, but yeah, if they got one more starter, one more closer, it'll just make them all that closer to winning it all.
What else did I have to say? Oh, I think the standings in the NL are pretty wrapped up. Like, out west, it's pretty much a Dodgers Padres show all day, and that's without thinking that someone takes over the Giants, which I kind of lean will happen. I think the Giants will be playing the wild card game this year, and yeah, I mean, Milwaukee's got it wrapped up in the Central. They got like a 7.5 game lead over Cincinnati. The Mets are kind of running away with the East. Not a lot of room for other teams to kind of grow. So naturally, you'll see the bigger teams like the Brewers and the Padres make these kind of moves to kind of start a little bit of a Cold War, just building a bunch of shit up.
Right. The AL, on the other hand, I mean, the Central, kind of hard, or kind of easy to say the White Sox. The West is kind of hard between the A's and the Astros. I mean, leaning more towards the Astros, and then same with the East, Rays, Red Sox. They're kind of close, but Red Sox are ahead by they have kind of been solidifying themselves as the more dominant team. But yeah, the NL for sure definitely seems like locked up, except for the West, where I feel like you are more optimistic about the Padres than I am at this point, because I don't know about the Giants. The way they're looking, they just keep going, and I'm waiting for something to go wrong.
They
But
just pitch, man. I don't get it. Like
hopefully,
this is the biggest fluke in recent Major League Baseball probably in
I
a
was
long
looking at
time.
Kevin Gosman's expected ERA, and this was it's gone up a lot now. His ERA was like a 1.5, and now it's like a 2.3 or something. So it's gone up a little bit, a good amount. But
Still elite.
when his ERA was 1.5, his expected ERA was like 3.5 or something like that, and that was one of the biggest differences. So it kind of was leaning to what you were saying about luck, and we'll see. Hopefully after this trade deadline, they don't require anyone, and that kind of kills the team morale. I mean, that's what I'm baiting for, but yeah, you never know. They just keep out pitching teams, and they're hitting. Their offense is doing pretty good despite none of their hitters being you'd able to name except for whoever was a part of their World Series runs. But
Just Posey is all that's left. But they got guys like Longoria still in that lineup. He's older, but he can still handle a bat pretty
right,
well. Yastrzemski's in there. I couldn't even tell you their center fielder. But like Donovan Solano, Brandon Crawford's had an all-star year. I mean, they got pieces, especially on the offensive side, but the rotation has just come out of nowhere.
right, yep.
Kind of waiting on the Dodgers to make one of those big moves. We still got a couple days, 29th and 30th. I believe the deadline's at 4:00 on the 30th. Dodgers are usually a team that's going to make something happen like this, especially when they're kind of in a hole like second place. I believe they believe in their team, but they still might add something for that bullpen. It's been kind of a rough sailing year for them that year that regard.
A lot
Bruce
of uncertainty.
Gratterall's been bad.
Right, Bruce Gratterall's been bad. I heard they might actually trade him because of how bad he's been, and they did a lot back for him, but just a rumor. But also, you lose Dustin May for the year. Trevor Bauer, a lot of uncertainty. You don't know
all that stuff,
whether you're going to get him back or whether you're going to have to pay him, which creates more uncertainty because it goes, totally changes about how you go about the trade deadline. Because if you have,
they've got Bauer signed for 3 years. Like, what
exactly.
if you never play baseball again?
If you have that $30 million on the roster on the payroll versus not, it's going to make a big difference on if you go out and get a guy like Scherzer who's already owed a lot of money. So it does put them in a tough spot, especially because they're already well over the luxury tax with the Trevor Bauer signing, and we'll see. Yeah, Dodgers. I would be surprised, honestly. They should add a starting pitcher, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But who knows? Honestly, I'm gonna be shocked if Berrios or Scherzer, one of them, isn't coming out west to SoCal. Whether that's the Dodgers or Padres, one of those teams will be getting a starting pitcher, I believe.
I believe Berrios is going to be gone. I haven't really heard any rumors about it. It just seems like he's
Berrios
the kind of guy that
be gone. It's just a matter of where. Yeah.
Seems like the kind of guy that would be sent out. The Twins haven't been as active as I thought they would this year. Another team that's entered sell mode, thanks to the Orioles, we swept the Nats in a 3-game set right out of the All-Star break.
Oh, yeah, Trey Turner.
And they came out the next day and said everyone but Soto is up for grabs. And Trey Turner's been the hot topic there. The Nationals could really make a lot of moves to kind of do like a hyper retool. Maybe it takes a year or two to get back to competitive, but they can be back in the postseason in a couple of years here. They got a lot of pieces, guys like Victor Robles, who have a lot of years left, high potential, good fielder, hasn't really hit at the major league level. A lot of control, though, for a team that wants him. A team like the Cardinals is what you're looking at. Trey Turner is one of, like we said, the big topic there. I think he's a free agent after next year. So a team would get Trey Turner, a very high-quality starting MLB shortstop for a season and a half. And that's a pretty big difference on a lot of teams. The Dodgers could trade for him and just let Seager walk in the offseason. I don't know. However they'd want to handle that. We're kind of getting to that point where there's not a lot of suitors because of how locked up these divisions are. What are some players that you think could be still on the move? Who are the hot topics? We've talked about Scherzer, Turner, Chris Bryant's name's always getting thrown out there. Trevor Story was supposed to be the big talk about this trade deadline, and his performance this year's kind of halted that. But still a lot of names that are very impactful pieces that can still go. Anybody you got your eye on, really, or maybe a destination?
I will say the Twins definitely need to trade Jose Berrios. Twins need to just trade everyone that they possibly can, get some value for. Why not? It makes sense.
Give him Mackenzie Gore. He slipped in the rankings. Yeah, what's up with him this year? What's going on with Mackenzie Gore?
He's been hurt a lot. That's what I heard, and hasn't been looking too great. And
he's not even in like a lot of lists, like top 5 pitching prospects in baseball, and he was number 1 last year.
Yeah, I honestly, I've heard he's regressed, which is kind of unfortunate. I've been kind of disappointed with how the Padres have been developing talent, but
so Gore in AAA this year, almost a 6 ERA across 20 innings. Wow. It looks like he has been hurt, but 12 walks, 18 Ks. That's a tough ratio. His whip is almost 2, giving up 11 hits per 9, not striking guys out like he did in the lower levels. I would still expect him to come back because the level of elite he was at the other levels was kind of not seen before. Like his ERA is like sub 2 in every other level, maybe double A. He struggled a little bit, but I think he'll be back up. just a matter of time. He's only 22, so. But maybe a guy that the Nationals would demand for something like, or I mean, the Twins would demand for a guy like Barrios.
Right. Honestly, Josh Bell also on the Nationals. I did see him. I mean, hey, Dodgers could use someone like him. They could stick him at first base, move Muncy to second, and then when Cedar's back, you have Cedar, Turner, and then you don't have to worry about Bellinger or Pujols at first base. And
And
then
Bell's a 2-year guy. They'd have him through next year too.
yeah, and he's a great player, switch hitter. I mean, yeah, that'd be nice. And then you could, stick Chris Taylor in the outfield or have him in the infield in case anyone gets hurt. Um, who else comes to mind? Trying to think
The
of the
Nationals still have
Nationals.
Kyle Schwarber for this year. He should be back soon. He was on like an incredible home run pace when he was still healthy. Yeah, guys like that you're looking at.
I'm surprised I haven't heard much about guys like Baez or Story because I mean, at this point they're worth at
Baez
least
talks are heating up a little bit.
one or two prospects. I mean, you're not those teams aren't going to sign Baez or Story, so you might as well trade him for something. And I don't know. I'm surprised. We haven't. I feel like I've heard a little bit about Story. He's been linked to a couple of teams, but I really haven't heard much about Baez getting traded. I feel like for the most part.
I think teams are just so much less excited about Story. Just his performance this year has just been bad. I mean, he's been hurt for a good amount of the year. His OPS isn't even over 800, I believe. Just kind of a rough 2021 for Story so far. Maybe a change of scenery is what he needs, though, because he's been hearing all year about how he's going to get traded potentially soon, just for 6 months. I mean, that's got to be pretty grueling on a guy. I wouldn't imagine he'd turn it around if he got traded.
Chris Bryant, too. I mean, he might.
Another guy I'm looking. Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Bryant can play like center field, left field, first base, third base. I mean, any team could use a bat like that who's that versatile.
Exactly.
MVP,
yeah.
Former MVP. A guy I'm looking at, I just found his stats for this year. I forgot that he was that he was good. German Marquez on the Rockies. He's a free agent in 2024, so you would get 2.5 years of control over a pitcher who has a career 119 ERA plus. A team like the Padres, Dodgers. I mean, any of the big teams are in it.
With 3 complete games this year, I believe. Derek Cole has like 1 or 2, or I don't even know if anyone else has 2. But he has 3, which is a lot.
He's also leading baseball in games started for a pitcher, which, I mean, health is everything for pitchers in this season, especially.
Exactly. He's just going to eat innings, and he's going to make it life easier for everyone else. So hopefully Padres could pick up him or John Gray. Honestly, we would take him too.
I mean, that's an insane amount of team control that the Rockies could really benefit by moving him now. I mean, the Rockies have a pretty terrible farm system, and, they're looking to get back on top as soon as they can. It's going to be a while before the West is even up for grabs again because of the Dodgers and Padres. But, I mean, German Marquez is kind of a place it starts. If you move Story, you got to move Marquez, right? We just haven't heard any rumors about it.
Move them both. Get some prospects.
Looking at some other team, I had wrote down like a list of like potential trade deadline buyers. This was like a week and a half ago, but the Phillies have yet to make that kind of big move. The White Sox could use some bench depth. They haven't made any moves. The Astros need a bench bat and a lefty reliever. They added Kendall Graveman. I had wrote that before they added Graveman, but just a couple of teams that have yet to kind of make that move. The Mets got Rich Hill, but does that really do anything for anybody? No. Braves, I think they're kind of just punting on this season. Acuna's out, Soroka's out for the year. Fried's been bad. A lot of the Ozuna stuff has kind of not really been good look for them. But I think the Braves are out on this season. The Peterson thing was just kind of a show pony, I guess.
Yeah, appease the fans.
Yeah, we're trying. Look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't think they're really in that bad of a position in the East. That just like the Mets are clearly a better team. Atlanta's 5 games back.
Yeah, and DeGrom just got hurt again, so you never know.
Their pitching's fine. They'll be just fine. The Braves are 8 games out of a wild card spot, so they are better off winning their division than they are winning the wild card. So.
Yeah, that
That's tough.
the NL wild cards are not available. That's just been established. If you're in the Central or the East, yeah, you gotta win your division if you want to make the playoffs. So yeah, it is very tough. But hey,
How's
that's how the cookie
Barrios been
crumbles.
this year? I don't know his stats for this year. I don't think they're gonna move Buxton. That would have had to happen already. I think Buxton just wants a
Didn't
big
Buxton just
contract
turn
this
down a
offseason.
extension? Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of made no
I don't
sense
think
to
he wants to
me.
stay in Minnesota though. He wants to win.
Right. I guess that makes sense, but I
I
feel
think he
like he
wants
needs to.
out.
I think he needs to take his money though, because he's been hurt so much. And it was like a lot of money. I thought, wasn't it like 80 million or something? I heard it was like 7 years, 80 million is what he
I don't
turned
think they
down.
released a number.
Okay, well maybe that was just a
I think
rumor
he
then.
thinks he could probably get upwards of like 20 some million a year, especially with the way he performed this year in his limited time. But yeah, that injury bug's going to be the main
Right. He's
talking
never
point
played. He's
of
played
his
over
contract
100 games
negotiations.
like once, so it's very hard
Yeah,
to give those guys money. I mean, Machado and Harper, they played 160 or 140, pretty much every year, and that's how they got their 300 plus million. Guys like Lindor, Tatis. I was kind of surprised he got it considering his injury history, but it's obviously different with him. We're not gonna compare him to Buxton because their situations are completely
dude's
different.
21. So
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, the ceiling on Tatis with the amount of money they're paying him for the next 14 years or whatever it is, like way different than anything Buxton could sign.
right, Buxton, like, yeah, his injury history, yeah, it's just it doesn't work out too well for him. But I hope he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, for Barrios this year, he's actually having arguably his best season. ERA plus is around 120. ERA is around 3.48. His WHIP's almost one. It's actually by far the best of his career. So, and you get hit control of him for this year and next year. So, don't know why trade talks around him aren't heating up more than like a Scherzer situation. Teams at this point aren't looking for like that ace that Scherzer kind of provides. Like they want guys like Barrios who are sitting around the low threes or mid threes in the ERA. Those are kind of the guys that get you through playoff series because any team that's in it right now already has their ace, or at least one or two. So yeah, let's get that going, Twins. You can get a lot of prospect capital for him. They want to
Joshua
retool.
Mears,
Starts with Barrios.
yeah, it's one of the Padres' top prospects. Hopefully they don't trade him, but yeah.
What prospect are you highest on the Padres system? Like Abrams is always talked about. We talked about Gore earlier, but is there any
I
Hassel?
believe
He's in there too.
I believe their top four goes. It was Gore, Abrahams, Campusano, and then Hassel. I really like Hassel. Robert Hassel the third. He's like a center fielder, left-handed hitter. Got a lot of extra base hits with the bat. It seems like, and can be like a Bellinger, MVP or prototype, hopefully. I really like Robert Hassel. I think that he's their fourth best prospect. He is a
Yeah,
top 100. I want to say top 50 prospect around there.
I
And
believe so. Yeah, he's also 19 years old.
oh yeah, they
So
just drafted him like a year or two ago out of high school. So yeah, I got a bunch of money in the first round. But yeah,
fifth
they've
overall
been
pick.
they've been drafting really well. I feel like because every time it's a draft, I hear about the prospects they are. I see them in their new Padres jerseys, and then usually in a year or two, you hear about them as being a highly touted prospect like Hassel, and then they have another guy, Joshua Mears, who kind of similar story with him. So I'm happy with how they've been drafting, but yeah, I like Hassel to answer your
It helps
question.
when you
Hopefully
get
they don't trade him.
high draft picks. Their top. Hold on, let's Campusano. Yeah, their top four prospects were all top 10 picks in the draft, and then Capisano was a second rounder. But yeah, it helps when you're bad for a little while.
Yes, they definitely they kind of did an Astros sort of rebuild. Except the Astros cheated also and got really good out of nowhere. But
Hey, we got that GM from the Astros regime, so let's keep that. Let's keep that quiet.
yeah,
He wasn't the GM in Houston,
Orioles
but
are
he
just
was
side
assistant.
stealing the next mastermind.
Any team that's 35 and 65 is not sign stealing, at least to a degree of that.
The Tigers could be. You never know. The AJ
Low
Hinch
key could
effect.
be with Put Hinch up there in Boston with their success this year. Might want to look into that with Alex Cora being back.
Got a lot of sketchy stuff going around in Major League Baseball right now, as if there wasn't enough already.
Yeah, it seems like the sticky stuff conversations have died off like rather quickly. Like I guess the MLB like extinguished the problem, but at the same time, like they still shouldn't have done it at this point of the season. You can't just do that to guys in the middle of the season. We've had this talk several times.
I watched a video about that. So the main substance they use is called spider tack, and that substance was actually created to help pro lifters, but they don't lift weights. They're not competition lifters like that. These pro lifters lift insanely heavy rocks, and they use spider tack to help them get a grip. And the company that actually made spider tack had no idea the MLB it was so popular in the MLB. And then one day, all of a sudden, they're getting a bunch of orders to their stadiums and to minor league affiliates, and that's how they got the
crazy.
news. But yeah, it is pretty crazy. It's just these giant men lifting these absurdly large rocks, and they're just covering their hands in spider tack. So yeah, that's how it was made.
Do you remember the video of Yadi Molina a couple of years ago? It was like a wild pitch in the dirt, and then the ball just stuck to his chest protector. Like,
Yeah.
how come no one is asking questions about that? Like, that's obviously like not natural.
There's a lot of funny stuff I've seen like that. There was one of like Pete Alonso. He was trying to like throw a ball on an air. Like it was an air throw, but it looked like the ball like it was just stuck to his hand because of the sticky stuff. And then when it came out, the momentum sent it down, and it was just kind of a dud throw. But yeah, it looked bad for him. But people say it was because the ball was all sticky. I've seen a lot of other players when they are tossing the ball between the infield after a strikeout. The players will wipe their hand on their glove, or they'll look at their hand because it's all sticky. That's all. That obviously doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, stuff like that. It was kind of funny to see. I don't did any more of that.
Pretty ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to look up how our playoff predictions are doing at this point of the season. I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're that great. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Do you remember any of your selections? Probably not.
Yeah, I definitely said Padres.
You did. It's not looking great right now, but it's not out of the
I
question.
said Cardinals, right?
No, you said Brewers.
Oh, I did? Okay, thank God.
I said
Let's
Cardinals.
go. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
I'm the loser that said Cardinals.
And then East, did I say Mets or did I say Braves?
You had Braves.
Oh,
I took the Braves as well.
No. Okay,
Hey, we'll go through it. AL
pass.
East. AL East, we both took the Yankees. That is not looking awesome right now.
Yeah, no.
That's probably our worst selection out of here.
Definitely.
Central, we both had White Sox. That's looking good.
Okay.
You had the Astros in the West. I took the A's. You are leading that one. I think the A's have a 6-game, or the Astros have a 6-game deficit. Lead. That's the right term.
Mm-hmm.
In the NL East, you took the Braves. I took the Braves. You took the Brewers. I took the Cardinals. And I took the Dodgers. You took the Padres. We are both somehow going to be wrong on that, aren't we?
No, we won't. We won't. One of us will be right.
Then for the wild card game, you took Dodgers over the Mets. That is actually looking kind of. Oh, no, not for the wild card. The Mets will probably win their division. So sorry about that.
Yeah, but I took Dodgers over the Mets for the wild card. Okay.
Yeah, I'd still buy that one.
And then for the AL,
the Padres over Mets.
For
the AL, you had Blue Jays over A's, which isn't out of the question either. A's should be in that game. Blue Jays got to get themselves there. I had Astros over Jays. That's not looking great right now. And then for the World Series, we both had the Yankees in it, but you had the Padres beating the Yankees. I had the Dodgers beating the Yankees. So
yeah, both of our Yankees takes not looking too strong. I'm actually very happy with how I did. I did not think I chose the Brewers. I thought I chose the Cardinals, but just at some point I switched to the Brewers, and that's a great choice. I'm happy with that. But yeah, the Yankees, both East, we got wrong. I guess Braves kind of hard to say with all the injuries they had, so I'll give us a pass there.
I mean the Giants Mets, out of nowhere.
Mets haven't ran away with it, and the West, I'll say we have a pass too because that's not decided yet. That division is still very close. The Dodgers and Padres are still very much in it. So honestly, I'd say your worst pick is probably definitely the Cardinals, and then
Yeah,
mine.
it's been disappointing.
I don't know what mine is. Probably the Yankees. I'd have to say because I still think the Padres are in it, and
By
then
far the Yankees actually for years. Like your other worst one was the Braves, which isn't like
yeah, that's
atrocious by
not
any means.
yeah, and yeah, Yankees. I just it's tough. I mean, I don't want to say it, but everyone thought they were going to be much better than what they are. But
I mean, they were
oh
supposed to
well.
win the whole thing this year. That was
Oh
kind of
right, they
like
were
their
winning
goal.
100 games. It's just kind of crazy how the narrative has changed because Aaron Boone his first 2 years, he wins back-to-back 100 game seasons. On pace to be one of the best managers ever record-wise. In the time he had managed, and now this year it's just fire Aaron Boone, and it's just a total
They got the
shitstorm.
GM on the Zoom calls talking to the fan base. Like, just what are we
Yeah,
doing,
it's
man?
just a mess. Now they're trading away prospects for Dallas, so they're buying in more, which it was to appease the fan base. I'm sure they are happy versus selling, but the vibe is still, you know, it's gonna be hard to get a wild card spot. I thought initially that they would be able to get one, but now looking back at it, they have to be they have to pass some pretty good teams record wise, and I don't see that happening.
See what the Yankees' schedule is for this year. Let's see if they got like a hard road ahead. Some of these teams have had much harder ones than others. As of right now, end of July, they're playing is that Miami? It's Miami. Oh, this is really small. Oh, they play Baltimore next week. That's great for them. Seattle, that'll be a big series actually. KC, White Sox, Boston, Minnesota, Atlanta, Oakland, Angels, and Baltimore again, Toronto. So they got a pretty mixed bag here. A lot of Baltimore series. Then they got some against like teams like the Blue Jays and Toronto. Toronto is the Blue Jays. I'd say it's an easier schedule than a hard schedule. So that's a plus for them, I guess.
I don't know. That is kind of hard though. You got the Red Sox mixed in there. Blue Jays aren't easy. I mean, I would say
They get a
not
lot of those
the
out in August though. Like September is a pretty smooth sailing. Here's their September: Angels, Baltimore, Toronto, Mets. That's a tough stretch, but then they go Baltimore, Cleveland, Texas.
okay.
So
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it's Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay. So they got they got a pretty tough last week and a half
But that being
actually.
said, though, they've been losing, a lot of games that they should have been winning, and them getting swept by the Tigers isn't as atrocious as it seemed at the time because the Tigers are actually somewhat good now.
Oh
Um,
my god! Did you see the game the other day? Red Sox Yankees. It was Domingo Herman had a 7 game or eight
for
or eight
nothing.
inning 8 inning no hit bid, and the Red Sox
Yeah,
won the game in the ninth.
he gave up a double. They took him out, and then yeah, they did lose it in the ninth. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It's
Um,
incredible.
what was crazy was the game before. I'm pretty sure they did that to the Red Sox. The Red Sox were, completely dominating, and then the Yankees stunned them in the last inning and win, or second to last. And then, the next day, same thing happens to them. So, it's just kind of weird if you're a Yankees fan. You feel great about the day before, but then you see the day after where same thing happens to them, and you're like, okay, this team is not progressing at all. It's like
Yeah,
one step forward, two steps back. It seems like so.
I think
Yeah,
Chapman's
that's
starting
very
to find
tough.
it a little bit again. He had that rough month there, and I think he's finally getting back into a groove. I'm looking at Joey Gallo's baseball savant numbers right now. He is actually quite the marvel. 100%, 100th percentile walk rate, third percentile in K percentage, 97 in barrels, 90 in xWOBA, 95 max exit velo. I'm kind of insane. Like his fielding's all in the 90s, whiff percentage is 2, second percentile. So I mean, definitely better than bad on here. But yeah, Yankees get their mold of player, which is strikeouts and
Exactly.
walks. Yeah,
That's kind of, and they have a left-handed version now too, which is not, hadn't been their mold before. Yeah, it
they
is.
needed that bad,
They
real
did.
bad.
They definitely did. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Because yeah, that is, a bunch, just way too many strikeouts. You're looking at, Judge, like just so many strikeouts, so
Like
many.
Glaber strikes out a
The
lot
only
too,
guy who
and like
doesn't strike out a bunch is LeMahieu. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough lineup to look at. Like if they're having a bad day, like you may see an 0 for 9 day between those three guys, just 9 Ks. And that's not like that wouldn't shock a lot of people, I feel like.
That's a tough lineup too for the playoffs. When if they were to make the playoffs, which we don't think they will, it would be a wild card. But you're gonna be facing a lot of pitchers with swing and miss stuff too. And when you have a lineup that has a bunch of holes versus playoff teams typically having a more balanced approach, it's gonna be hard. But yeah, they are
I mean,
just
what do the
worried about
Yankees do
getting
if they
in.
run into a guy like Lance Lynn or something like that, or like Zach Greinke? I mean, he's gonna bone their entire lineup, and like I think the White Sox against the Yankees in a playoff series would be a complete just wipe for the White Sox.
I don't even think they'd make it that far. If they were to make it
They'd
to
have to win the wild card game, which they might not even get to. It
Yeah, no.
would
If they were
probably
to make it to a playoff series against the White Sox and lose to the White Sox in the playoffs, the Yankees fans should be happy. That would be a not embarrassing way to lose to end the season. Versus right now, they're probably not even going to make the playoffs, which is what I think is going to happen. I don't think. I think them losing to the best team in the American League in the playoffs would be a blessing for them if you were to ask, if you were to ask them.
yeah.
So,
As of right now, actually, they could only play the White Sox in the ALCS because the White Sox have the third worst record out of the leading teams, so they'd have
oh, I guess,
to
yeah.
win in the ALCS. We got pretty nuts trade deadline that is not over yet. We will be, I don't know, maybe we could, if it's a big trade, we can do like an emergency
Please.
yep. But
You best believe if he comes here, we're gonna be talking about it. But
we did it for the Bauer signing.
yeah,
That was kind of fun. But yeah, one more day, 1.5 more days of the trade deadline. We will do the live ep, not a live ep, but a impromptu ep if there's anything big. But for now, unless you have anything else to talk about,
nope,
no.
nothing else. It's been a exciting couple days, and should be an exciting rest of the season. So
Yeah. Do you have any of these standings changing hardly at all? Maybe besides the AL East, like I don't. Well, I guess the NL West is the big one. Still holding out hope that your Padres take the
yeah,
division.
not AL East. I don't want to make any predictions. It's honestly just gonna be a guess at this point. Other than that, between Rays and Red Sox, if I'm gonna say one of them, I honestly don't know.
And that's a fun
Uh,
matchup. I like both those teams. They offer very different things, but both very fun.
NL West. I still think Padres overtake. I'm gonna say the Dodgers don't add anyone. Padres will
Padres
get
making up the
3-0.
6 game deficit. I like it.
They're gonna overcome. They're gonna overcome it. We'll see. They're the best third place team you've ever seen.
Honestly, probably in the history of Major League Baseball.
I love how you're like probably like.
I would be very curious if there's one better than that. I mean, they're gonna. What are they projected to win this year? Let me just check real quick. 59 plus 45.
They are projected to make the playoffs. Be 100 games. I don't think it's. I think they're gonna come close. But yeah, not 100. Not quite.
15. They're currently on pace for 92 wins. So, I mean, that's a really good team. I believe that's better than. Oh no, it's 1 game off the Brewers, and they'll be division winners. So.
Well, there you go. That pretty much sums it up.
Oh, sorry. That's they currently have 5 more wins than the Mets, who are division leaders. That's pretty messed up.
Hey, like I said, it's hard to get a wild card in the NL, and it's hard to win the division in the NL West. That's for sure. But
That it is.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. You want to
All right.
wrap it up?
Until next week, guys, or there's a big trade. But as of right now, until next week, thank you for listening or watching.
See ya.